What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So yesterday we discussed very briefly the earnings report for quarter 4 and fiscal year end of Hightide, ticker symbol HITIF. So in today's video I want to do a more detailed video focusing on both the qualitative and quantitative results from that quarter 4 report and the impact it will have on the share price going forward. After doing some extensive research within this earnings report, and I've made quite a lot of notes for this video. So if you find this video anyway helpful, it'd be great if you consider subscribing to the channel if you're new around here, and it'd be much appreciated as well if you could smash that like button. And with all that being said, let's get right into today's video. At time of recording, just before the markets opened on Wednesday, Hightide is currently sitting at about 65.8 cent per share. Over the last week, they're up about 6%. We can see the spike here that it went up to about 75 cents a share, mainly based off those earning reports. But however, just like most earning reports, if they're positive, they usually kind of have a fairly substantial increase in share price and then usually have a dip off again as the kind of hype dies down a bit. However, we'll discuss this throughout the video as well, that actually looking at these earnings reports, I'm very optimistic about this company going forward. If you go back to the 1-day chart, just as I discussed, they kind of had their high at about 75 cents. No pun intended, but they had about 75 cents there, and then they kind of went down again about 10 cents back to their kind of pre-reporter earnings, and they're back at about 65 cents a share. So first, let's focus on their financials. So I have it all written down on the sheet here, so excuse me if I'm looking away from the camera, it's just a lot of figures here to memorize. So in terms of revenue, on quarter 4, they are up 118%, or just under 25 million. And for the fiscal year end, the revenue is up 83.3 million, or 166%. All their financial figures throughout this video, you can see they're all in the positive, which is great to see for a company. We will now look at their kind of gross profit or margin. In terms of margins, in quarter 4 they went up 35%, and on year to date they're up about 37% on gross profit margin, and their gross overall profit is about 8.7 million, or 112% in quarter 4, and with the overall fiscal year end for the whole year, it's up 30.8%, or a staggering 172%. In terms of cash at their disposal, it went from 7.5 million in quarter 4 up to about 38 million year to date, and right now they're sitting at about 38 million in cash. In terms of Hightide's revenue, it kind of comes in 3 sources. Firstly, within Canada, which is obvious, then the US, and thirdly, the international market. So it's no surprise that the Canadian market is their leading kind of place of earning cash at the moment. I do feel, however, that in order for this company to grow a lot more, they need to focus more in the US and actually as well more internationally, across Europe and stuff. So if they can increase those figures as well internationally, they're really going to start taking off, in my opinion. So just in terms of some numbers, within Canada, they made 20.6 million in quarter 4. That was 68.4 million overall in 2020. Within the US, it was 4.1 million in quarter 4 and 14.3 million throughout the year. And thirdly, internationally, again, I believe if they can up these numbers, they really have a good chance of doing well. They're already doing well at the moment, obviously, but to do even better, they only made 0.2 or $200,000 in quarter 4 internationally, and overall throughout 2020 they only made about 0.6 or 600,000 throughout the year internationally. So if they can improve those figures, it's going to be really beneficial to the company. And the final figure I want to look at is their earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. It went from about 3.6 million in quarter 4 up to 8 million throughout 2020. Now it's no surprise that the reason they're doing so well isn't just due to luck. It's got to do with all the background work and their more qualitative analysis and operations. So we can see here in August, they opened a Canna Cabana store in Alberta, which is a popular tourist attraction. They also acquired Meta Growth, which is huge for them as well. We'll discuss that later on in a bit more detail. And the thing I found quite staggering throughout the report is that they had a brands of 50% revenue from quarter 4 came directly from their overall members, which is staggering to see that 50% of the revenue came from members alone to build their bricks and mortars within quarter 4. So 3 main pieces of work that Hightide have completed in 2020, in my opinion, really helped them compete with the bigger kind of stocks in the sector. The first of these again was the acquisition of Meta Growth. So that now makes Hightide the biggest Canadian cannabis retailer, which is great to see for them. They then also overtook or acquired Smoke Cartel, which will really improve their online logistics and website, which is very important e-commerce, especially in times like we're in at the moment, with a lot of more people buying online. And the third of these reasons is by Hightide opening more stores, which we've seen throughout 2020, which is very beneficial for the company going forward due to expansion and more exposure for the products, and also that they've continued to remain open throughout COVID, which is great to see as well. So it just goes to show that they're able to kind of change or interact with current surroundings or conditions, which is very positive to see for any company, that they're able to continue to operate under different scenarios. Another 2 points to note is that their common stock is now trading on the TSX Venture Exchange. And however, if I believe that if Hightide can get on the NASDAQ, they already applied for this, but if they can get on, it's going to give them more exposure, and it really will help improve their overall share price, in my opinion, especially if you can get onto such big exchanges as the NASDAQ. So that's pretty much it for the overview of the earnings report for Q4 fiscal year end for Hightide, ticker symbol HITIF. Again, I kind of discussed this very briefly yesterday, so I just wanted to go into a small bit more detail today in terms of both the quantitative and qualitative results from that earnings report. Now, at the moment, I currently do not have a position in Hightide. However, as I said in yesterday's video, once the hype dies down, like we've seen on the chart already, where the stock price has started to dip down again of about 7% in the last day or so, that I am going to be investing in, probably either Thursday or Friday of this week, maybe even Monday, but it probably will be the end of this week. I'll start a small position, and with their current share price less than about 70 cent dollars a share, that's about 55 cent in euro. So that's, you could get 10 shares there for nothing at all. So I might even just start off with a very small position of 10 to 20 shares and slowly build it up and kind of dollar cost average depending on what way the stock goes. If you found this video anyway helpful, interesting or entertaining, it'd be brilliant as always if you consider subscribing to the channel if you're new around here, and it'd be brilliant if you consider liking the video. More importantly, I'd be more interested to know in the comment section below if firstly you hold this stock, and second of all if you're planning on buying more, and what you think of the earnings reports for Q4 and fiscal year end 2020. Thanks very much guys, enjoy the rest of the day, and I will see you all in tomorrow's video.